Good afternoon, everyone. We are here to present the project that we have been working on throughout the semester. The website for the conference, that is Project Management and Practice Conference PMiP 2014. That's going to be held on May 16th and 17th, 2014. So this year's theme is going to be Women in Project Management. So our team comprises of myself, Radhika, Isha, Aditya, Michelle, and Brian. So let's get started. So this is what we are going to cover in our presentation today. So first we'll be talking about the project overview, which comprises of the project description, the vision statement, the personas, and the Agile process overview, a brief overview of Agile aspects, and some of the technical aspects, an overview of that. Then we have the sprint execution, then the team dynamics, which comprises of the communication tools we used to communicate, and sprint planning, reviews, retrospectives, finally the release, and the website demo, which will be given by Aditya. So we'll start on with project overview. So first of all, we would like to thank Professor Rachel and Professor Canabar for their constant support, and also to the sponsors of the conference, that is PMI Must-Be chapter and our college, Boston University Metropolitan College. So to begin with a brief summary. So the first release of our website, that's the domain masterspm.com, had met its goals, including it provided information about to the potential attendees, like the date of the conference, the venue, and all the logistics information. And also it provided all the facilities for registering for the conference, and also it gave certain admin privileges to manage the conference. So brief background. Boston University's Metropolitan College has a project management program which hosts an annual conference every year in the month of May. So the goal of this conference is to bring all the project management professionals together to discuss all the important and upcoming trends in project management. And this year's theme being Women in Project Management. And just to mention, the director of project management program at BU Met is Dr. Vijay Canabar, as everyone knows, and he's also the co-chair for this year's conference. So this conference mainly helps to strengthen BU's position as a leader in project management education. And as I mentioned before, it's scheduled from May 16, and also it follows up on May 17, where we'll have some presentations. So this is our project vision statement. So very obviously the vision statement includes that the PMiP annual conference 2014 is well organized and attracts many prospective students and also attendees and speakers. This year's speakers being all speakers from Met College, and all of them are women, basically, because the topic being women in project management. So the vision statement has a target group. Like I mentioned, it's going to be BU students, PMP professionals, and speakers and sponsors. And also it includes alumni. So the needs. So we basically tried to bring out all the needs, like understand the benefits of attending this conference, how helpful or how beneficial it is to the students or even the attendees, even the alumni. And also we planned that we aimed at in the first release that we have the registration part of the website ready, and how they are going to attend, like whether the attendees would be online or in person. That's going to be on campus. And also the need for the presenters was that they have to know if their topic was going to be valuable to the conference. So the product perspective would be that we provide a central location for conference attendees, so which is going to be on campus here at BU, and also learn more about the conference, registrations online, and all the contact and logistics information be available on the website. So what value does this website bring to everyone is that it will generate great interest in the conference among the attendees and the presenters, including all the students, faculty, and all the BU alumni. So it will also organize all the promotion, registration, sponsorships, etc. So moving ahead with the user personas that we use for our website and the project. The first being it's about Samantha Moore. So Samantha is an undergraduate student in New York. So she's looking for options in project management programs and which she wishes to take up. And ironically, she finds that this conference, she finds information about this conference, which is very, she's aspiring to pursue, and she also finds that BU has good courses, or the BU project management program has good courses which are valuable to her. And after weighing the cost and advantages, she makes a decision to finally attend the conference. So, and the goal for her being that she meets all the alumni, the faculty, and gets to know more about the program, the courses offered here, the faculty here at BU. And then she has to make a decision why she has to choose BU for her program, and then also understand the current scenario of women in project management. The second user persona would be Alice Williams. So unlike Samantha, she's more experienced in the field of project management. She's a BU alumni. She's graduated in the year 2006, and she's also a PMP and also PMI-ACP. She has a certification in that as well. So she is attending the conference as a speaker. So she is a potential speaker at the conference. So she would give her views on why one should choose BU for their project management course. And she will be sharing her views on how women, on the subject of women in project management, and also her thoughts and how her experiences have been so far after graduation. And also she would be participating in active interaction with the prospective students and all these current students and faculty and other members who are attending the conference. So next we'll continue with Agile overview. I hand it over to Isha.
Now we move on to Agile overview. As we already know, Agile software development is a group of software development methods that is based on iterative development. This is from a survey which was conducted to show the comparison of the success rate of Agile projects. As we can see, this following waterfall, the success rate is like very low. It's like 14%, and in Agile it's 42%. That is quite the reason why we should use Agile. This is like to compare Agile. There are multiple deliverables in Agile as compared to waterfall model, where at the end we get one deliverable. Now, user stories. User stories are can be written as a statement or two to describe the task. As an example, I can show you from the version 1 the user stories we used. In sprint 1, like these are the tasks, number of tasks. And for each task there were tests which we conducted following the round robin test. So now we come to the definition of done. This was like the preliminary list of items to be considered, we considered as the code was complete, test was complete, and it was approved by the product owner, then the task was done. When you talk about technical overview, we use some standards here. As part of the CMS, we used WordPress. The content of the site depends heavily on WordPress and the plugins leveraged to produce the final product. And as we know, CMS is a web application designed to enable users to add, edit, or deploy and manage the web content. The standards which we used were dictated by PHP coding standards and were contained within the WordPress. Web pages meet accessibility and semantic guidelines based on recommendations from W3C and ECMA guidelines. We followed round-robin testing and load testing, in which we enabled 50 simultaneous responses at the time of less than 3 seconds. Now we move on to sprint execution.
Okay, for the sprint execution, basically we started off our sprints with just the basic product backlog grooming, where we basically came up with our initial product backlog, and we took a very first preliminary work stab at basically assessing what our product backlog was going to look like. Now this was probably one of our most effective initial most effective ways because it was actually on one of the meetings where we actually met on campus here. So we had face-to-face communication where we could talk about these things in just face-to-face, and it worked very well. We also used things like Google Hangouts, and while they were effective, they were just a little less effective because we kind of missed that face-to-face communications. Our initial backlog had 44 different user stories. And for sprint 1, it was a 24-day sprint. The primary goal of this sprint was to familiarize ourselves with the tools and kind of just better understand exactly what our end goal was, to get a better vision of that. We had 5 stories with an estimate of 18 story points. During that, we primarily focused on version 1, getting up to speed on that. We prioritized our backlog grooming, and then we utilized spikes within that sprint to just train on technologies, and we also came up with our initial definition of done, which we alluded to a little bit. And over in the right-hand column, you can see our burn-down chart there. And this is going to be one of the things that you'll notice, that the charts do vary pretty significantly between sprint to sprint for a variety of reasons, which I'll touch on. The second sprint was a 13-day sprint, and in this sprint we had 12 stories with an estimate of 125. So you can see that our velocity is definitely increasing from sprint to sprint. Now the primary reason, there's a multitude of reasons that we can attribute this to, primarily because the initial sprint we were all kind of learning and getting to know each other. So I think we were very probably conservative on our estimates. The second sprint, I think we definitely had a lot better vision and were able to understand and work with each other better. So increasing the velocity definitely, well, it was just easier to do. We did, within sprint 1, or version 1, it was consistently mentioned that we had kind of a lack of consistency in our test and tasks that we defined in there. And we never did come up with, we realized that we needed to have more details on it, but we just never really kind of came to a conclusion on a standardized template on what the level of detail should be there. We did perform a combined sprint review and retrospective for 1 and 2 during this, before the sprint started. And then we also did update our definition of done to make sure that we were completing the task within version 1, primarily because version 1 did not generate the burn down charts correctly unless those things were marked as they should be. So we added that to our definition of done. Sprint 3 was a 14-day sprint, and basically the goal of this was just anything else that we could accomplish to get the product released. This included 23 stories and 215 story points. And again, we did increase our velocity there. We still had inconsistent level of detail in a lot of our tasks and tests. But we did try to incorporate some of the team process improvements that we had discussed in earlier sprints. And primarily the reason for the chart and the way this looks is that a lot of our tasks, we didn't actually add them to version 1 until basically late in our sprint, and then so you can see.
And it caught you.
Yeah, we did the initial, we added some initially here, finished a bunch, and then we did a bunch more, and then we just completed everything in basically the last few days. And with all of us being students, working full-time, it was definitely, our time was definitely sporadic on when we could all dedicate time to do it. So that pretty much explains kind of the not linear downward burn down charts. And here is just basically a graph of our team velocity, and you can see as it is definitely increasing as we got from sprint to sprint. Development integration. Now we didn't have, this wasn't probably a true product in the sense that we were making changes directly to the production site. We didn't have a staging server to really test the things out, so we were doing real-time updates. Now the way we kind of did approach this, which I thought did work really well, is that we kind of paired up. We didn't do pair programming, but each person was tasked with doing some set, and then another team member was tasked as the QE person for that. So it was kind of a pair programming philosophy, and it helped to solidify that there was continuity and standards among there, and it gave people just you were forced to have another set of eyes on analyzing your changes. Now we did have periodic breakages in our production site, which were resolved eventually, but that kind of had some negative impacts on things. And then basically also when we were actually assigning tasks, it was oftentimes kind of difficult to break large features up into more manageable tasks that we could actually distribute to one person. So we could kind of sometimes struggle with that. And then team dynamics.
Yeah. So I'm going to talk about team dynamics. So that's primarily roles and responsibilities within the team, and then how we communicated across the project, and how some of our feedback cycles work, and how we made improvements along the way. So roles and responsibilities, we tried to have basically things split up so that people would shift roles throughout the project. So you'd have somebody take a crack at being product owner or scrum master and kind of shuffle as we went. And then everybody in the team contributed to the development effort, so it wasn't like this person is in this role for the whole project. And that had some pros and cons. There weren't really a really strong product owner and scrum master person, so there wasn't anybody driving the project in one direction or the other as far as features, or and it was more like, let's say, development team, communal type of thing. And so it's on the one hand good that everybody got a little bit of exposure to that, but the inconsistency left a little bit to be desired. And so during our group meetings and things like that, I think it would have been helpful to have somebody in a coaching role in a lot of respects, to not necessarily be the product owner or be the scrum master, but to provide what if we try this activity, or if we meet at this time, we can make sure that we're doing the right things to make the process go smoothly. So our primary tool for tracking everything was version 1. So we were looking at putting the backlog in there, the sprint goals, sprint by sprint, and then for each sprint as we defined it, we were using version 1 to say these are the list of things that go into version 1. Also put everything in there, including tasks and tests. So we knew you're going to work on this task and you're going to be the one testing it. And then we were able to use the tool to track progress and produce burn down charts as we went. Things to kind of look forward to if we keep using version 1, or as people use version 1 in the future, is having some standard for these are the expectations of what needs to go into version 1 for a task or for a test, and it needs to have at least these things, or as we're creating the sprint, we need to be able to estimate everything at the beginning and maybe refine estimates as we go instead of estimating it when we start working on it, because that, like in Michael's graph there, shows it didn't estimate until halfway through the sprint. And so kind of that stopping to take time to plan at the beginning of the sprint and get all the planning work done and then execute, I think would have made the version 1 tracking a little bit better. And the other thing we noticed is that a lot of times the task would have been done and then it didn't get tested and it doesn't show up in the burn down until both of those activities are done, or both are done and it just hasn't been logged yet. So it becomes pretty difficult to get the tool to mirror reality without being consciously in the tool all day. So early on we had primarily email communication, which has some good sides. It's asynchronous, so you can send an email out and then plan a meeting and everybody gets to it when they get to it and nobody misses the message. But on the other hand, when we were doing development work, it was hard because you want the answer to something, or you want some suggestion about, does this look okay, or should I choose this or that, and then it's a day or two and then you've moved on to something else and you need to come back and get your head back in it. So there were some pros and cons to that. As we move forward in time, we did use Google Hangouts quite a bit, which was really pretty helpful, I thought. I think the biggest challenge is just aligning everybody's schedule so that we can get some conference call going. So it's one of the benefits of the email is that you don't have to have everybody's schedule lined up, but you can't move quite so quickly either. And then with the handful of in-class meetings, both the sprint review that we did and the initial planning were all really helpful to just get everybody on the same page, and quick face-to-face back and forth discussion is really high bandwidth, and those experiences were really helpful. So to talk a little bit about planning and the reviews. So we did planning basically at the beginning of each process, and one of the weaknesses of not having a defined product owner is that the backlog grooming isn't going on in parallel with the development. It's we switch back and forth from one to the next, and so that meant we were trying to plan, which worked pretty well in this first sprint when they all got together and did it. As we, let's say, divided things out, it was like we were distributing the planning in addition to the development, and so that led to a lot of the inconsistencies we saw with the use of version 1. The one review we had at the end of sprint 1 and 2 was helpful because we could get some feedback on how the site was looking and add stuff to the backlog, and then get to show off our midway product there. We also had the retrospective right at the end of sprints 1 and 2 as well, which was good. I think that was a good opportunity to get everybody together and talk about how to improve communication, which I think was our primary issue that we were running into. And we also had a chance to say, hey, this doesn't make sense in the backlog, can we take this out, or can we just take this off the list, or I think we really need to add another thing into the backlog for Rachel's feedback or for some other upcoming task. So talking a little bit about the release. So where we are at right now is that we, through the project, kind of prioritize the backlog to make sure that we got the right content done based on the idea that the conference date is fixed. So we wanted to make sure that we handled everything related to what are the benefits of attending the conference, and can people register, and can we get feedback back if somebody has some comment that they need to tell us about the website, and do basic management. There's still some undone features around, especially supporting video for online viewing of the conference, and then we spent a lot of time talking about, should this site allow visitors to interact with each other on the site, or should it kind of direct them off to some other social media to talk about the conference? And so something that we need to discuss a little bit more and figure out what the right path is to move forward. So as everything gets published as we were on the way, the website is published the Master's PM, and so today will be good unofficial unveiling. Aditya is going to show the site next, and so the other thing that Michael alluded to is as you make updates in the future and it's already kind of out there, we're not going to be able to say, okay, sorry, the site's down because we just did this, that, or the other thing, or tried to install some plugin that broke everything. And so setting up some kind of development and test server that we can push stuff over so that you're not making changes as people are looking at the site, and defining a better release process and something necessary to move forward with.
How are we doing, folks? There is a saying which says, proof of the pudding is in its eating. Whatever process we follow, if the product is not good, it is not going to make sense. So now we try to make sure that the process that we have followed all this way, did it actually deliver the intended purpose? And the intended purpose is to deliver a successful website. You have a
It's open on the browser.
on a different browser.
Under tab or?
Yeah, it's on another tab.
It's on the next slide as well. Yeah. The link is on the next slide.
Okay. So folks, this is our website, Project Management in Practice, and as the homepage or in the aesthetics and cognitive science of websites, it should portray what the website is intended, supposed to communicate. It is about women in project management and it is about a conference. So as you can see, the homepage communicates that marketing message loud and clear. You have a aspiring or an existing project management professional who is actually communicating the marketing message. As you can see, we do have a section that allows people to leave comments, and there have been comments that have been posted as along the soft launch of the website, starting right from April 13th to the last one posted on April 10th. Again, these messages are moderated, so you cannot ad hoc post a message just to make sure you don't have any spamming messages. It goes to the admin interface where a moderator or the administrator has to release your post. That's one more security that we have. So coming down to the content that we have here, leave a comment essentially would just open up the form for submitting a comment. And as you can see, the footer is for any copyright information that comes from the WordPress library, as well as the Boston University logo and the title. Coming back to the agenda, I will cover the video conferences and the video sessions in my later section. You have the agenda mentioned out, and you have a YouTube plugin that would pop up a running video. This works. Won't go into the details there. You come down, you have the agenda mentioned out clearly. You do have multiple videos that have been posted from speakers, as well as you have the social networking icon, which would allow you to interact and share either with Twitter or with Facebook. This is just to make sure that you can share your thought process or share the information about this website with other users if you have a particular social networking tool that you would like to use. Coming up to our sequence of what we are presenting, we do have the speakers mentioned, which would be essentially the bios about the speakers, and also the venue. The venue dictates the necessity to have a location of the venue being displayed in the map. So we do have the Google Maps that is essentially displaying the location And as you can see, this being a Google map, you can browse near or browse out to get a clearer picture of what exactly is your criteria for the location. Coming down, you do have information about how to get to the venue, public transportation, parking. You do have a nice photograph of how it looks from the charts. And also you have the necessary accommodations information for people who would be attending this particular session and who are out of state or not from Boston. Coming up, the most important thing, how does a person register for this event? And we do have a registration plugin that actually grabs the person's information and registers. So as you can see, currently we have almost 13 people, not almost, 13 people registered successfully. And this essentially, the process is to actually pop up a registration plugin to a registration popover, where the cost listed out is $595, whereas a student attendee has to spend slightly less or much less. Now I click on the registration button, which allows me to capture real information of the person. You essentially enter out your details, and the minute you select how many people you want to enter, that actually captures the dollar amount that is payable. Now to validate whether we have captured the registered attendees information, you have to actually go to the admin interface. So for that, we'll actually go to the WordPress dashboard that essentially has all of the information about the registration. So I will just go to the event registration tab to the attendee list. And as you can see, there is the view attendees and delete attendees. If I click on the view attendees, I'm going to see the number of attendees that is
So excited I
currently
registered 10
test
And about there.
So these people have been registered for
What are you guys performance testing?
yes. And also there are some other important plugins that have been installed to better facilitate the interaction. This is a security plugin. A lot of times there are people who try to penetrate the website via the via multiply targeting the website by multiple means to get into the website, because this website would potentially contain personal information and there would be a payment equivalent. This plugin essentially adds a security layer that would protect any unauthorized access into the website's database. Coming down, there is the Google Map plugin, and also there is the event registration plugin that we just saw it work. There is also an interesting plugin which is called the WordPress statistics, and that captures the analytics data of how many people have actually accessed the site. So if we just go here, historically, there are multiple statistics that we can share, but if you look at it, this is the chart. So seems like on 14th of April we had 40 hits, which is really the highest recorded hits. Also last week we had a couple of extra hits, and if you look at the number of visitors that have been visited, also this is by country visitors, but the better would be countries from where the visitors are actually attending it. The highest number of visitors are from the United States, and obviously there are a lot of people who are around the world trying to access this site.
That's because your site's live, right? So anyone
Yeah.
looking at Masters
Anyone
PM could find the site.
Yes.
I wonder if anybody actually really tried to register.
So far, so good.
That's funny.
Interestingly, what if your site was being searched by a search word? So looks like nobody is actually searching by a particular search word. The primary reason being you have to actually set up the search word context in your set up.
Well, it's good you
which
did
are
because
here.
there's probably another site where people are trying to register for this conference.
Exactly. And if you go browser-wise, how people are doing in terms of browsers. Okay, this is the interesting statistics. Which browser should one use to popularize the site? Firefox seems to be the most popular browser. The site has been accessed. Chrome comes a second, and Internet Explorer probably not on the higher side now. And yes, Windows is still the most preferred platform to access the site. Going back to our website, we have completed the registration process, and also this site how would not have been possible if we didn't have a good sponsor. So we have a sponsor who is facilitating the site being live with a generous sponsorship. Also, this site was held in 2013 and 2012. So one would have the 2013 conference on the log or the information about the past conference, that also is there. There are some interesting testimonials of people who have previously attended, and they seem to be like to popularize the message of the website. So their testimonials so far have been possible, been positive. So we have the PDUs. Now, this conference enables a person to earn up to 7 PDU credits for participating in this conference. So this information needs to be communicated whoever wants to attend this conference. So that that technicality has also been addressed here. And lastly, if you have any feedback, we would definitely like to hear about it. This feedback gets captured by this particular form, and this form essentially has how do you hear about the website and all the nice things that the website contains. Essentially the full survey part of it, of capturing what it would take to capture the information that is related to a website's feedback. Coming back to our website, the website has a short URL. Essentially the URL domain is map, and clicking on the tabs adds the page URLs, which is the standard process that one normally makes it feasible to add it via a web shortcut. So having said about this, I would conclude my brief presentation about the capabilities of this website. This website is a hosted cloud solution in WordPress. So all the capabilities are extended from the community of WordPress developers who have provided and developed the plugins, which has enabled us to put up this, I would say, beautiful site. Thank you. Any questions?